Hi everybody, this is Donna Fisher and I'm here to answer some questions that were posed in some of my pages and my groups, and here to channel some of that information. And some of that information I already have knowledge on, so I will also remark on these questions from my own knowledge base as well. So I first want to just thank you guys for following me and for being on this journey with me. I have been on my ascension path since 2012, and it's never ending, really. It just seems to be evolving and growing, just as we all do collectively. So I want to just extend my gratitude and my sincere love to each and every one of you, and the work that you do and the progress that you make is assisting the entire collective in moving forward into a heart consciousness. So I'm going to just read. I actually wrote down some of the questions that I had, and I know I'm not going to get to all of them. And some of the questions I will do in a written format, but some of the questions I decided to do in a video. So one of the first questions was, it came from my Infinity Healing page. And the question was, when it comes to self-love practices during ascension of twin flames, is it okay to have healthy boundaries with twin flame if there are some issues? Well, I did write information about this at some point in the last couple years, and I will also put this out in writing because this is something that's come up not only for myself, but also for many of my clients. So just on a personal note, when I was early on in my journey, there was, it was pretty difficult to decipher what the difference was between healthy boundaries and unconditional love. So those were the things that I kind of struggled with because, you know, in my limited perspective, I thought unconditional love was full acceptance of everything. And that means that you were accepting your twin as things were, even if it was not quite fulfilling you in the way you want or the way you desired. Now, that can also sound like it's coming from ego in some ways. So that's why I struggled a little bit in figuring out what's ego and what's coming from the heart. So as you continue and progress on your journey, it becomes so clear and it becomes so evident that you are either practicing out of unconditional love for yourself, or you are practicing unconditional love for just somebody else, okay? Whether it's your twin flame or somebody else, it doesn't matter. So first and foremost, this journey is about you, okay? Your twin flame will mirror the deepest aspects of yourself, the deepest wounds, and reflect all of those things to you if you allow them to do that. And when I mean allow them to do that, I mean that you will be open to it, that you will not run from it, because in many cases when our healing is still taking place, like this intense healing is taking place, we kind of it kind of can be overwhelming, and we oftentimes displace our unhealed wounds onto our twin and believe that there are things about them that we need to accept in order for there to be unconditional love. But in this respect, it's really not about the other person. It's really not about our twins. I mean, even though, you know, we are together as one and we are one soul, they are simply giving us the information that we need to be able to, in order for those those wounds to be triggered, and in order for us to realize what those wounds are, they have to play their parts. So this is the thing. The question was, is it okay to have healthy boundaries? Absolutely. 100% without a doubt, you have to have healthy boundaries. That does not mean that you do not love your twin. That does not mean you don't have unconditional love, because in the moment, you are there to accept who they are and where they are at on their journey. And while you are focused on your own journey, sometimes that doesn't mean that you guys are working, side by side. I mean, the thing is that in the physical, sometimes that means, okay, let me just back up here. You are working in tandem in a spiritual sense, in an energetic sense. But in the physical sense, you may not appear as though you are working together, because they are playing their parts just as much as you're playing your part. So meaning that you will be guided to do certain things, or to feel certain ways, in order for you to meet fully in the middle. And in order for you to merge together physically, or we can call it alignment, being in union, these things that are inside of you have to be triggered, and these things inside of you have to be healed. And what other way of what better way of doing those, than your twin doing it for you? So you see that if you didn't have healthy boundaries, and you just were a doormat, and you allowed things to happen the way, say your twin wants them to be, you may be kind of stuck in the same way. You'd be stuck in a cycle. And if you aren't happy with that, you have to change something about it. So you have to understand that there are ways of addressing these things without coming from ego, because it's not shifting blame. It's not saying that, this other person, this soul in your life is creating some kind of situation for you that you have to put down firm boundaries. It's not about blaming the other person. It's about realizing and recognizing that there is a distinct role that this soul is playing in your life, in order for you to overcome certain karmic lessons and certain cycles that you had in your life that maybe you didn't know about. Some of these things come from childhood. Some of these things come from past lives. Some of these things come from ancestral lines, and some of these things come from, the collective. But it doesn't really matter where they come from. What matters is that you follow your soul and you follow your heart when it comes to taking action or taking inaction in your twin flame dynamic. If you are being mistreated, if you are not living your fullest potential, if you are accepting less than what you feel that you deserve, you have to understand that that is not self-loving. And in order for you to progress on this journey, you have to have self-love, and you have to understand that these things are playing out for you. And it's almost like, once you get beyond it and see it that way, and you actually have demonstrated ownership, and you are no longer like a beginner, you've really like aced this lesson, then these things will never, I shouldn't say never, never say never. These things may come up again in a different way, but you won't be bothered by it. It won't be an issue for you, and you won't have to instill boundaries, because these things aren't going to play themselves out anymore. So you see that this is something that you would need to do in order to progress to the next level, as they call it. And in order to progress to the next level, and to solidify your connection in a more physical way, there's things that you have to do in the spiritual sense or energetic sense. So you have to be able to progress and do these things in a way that gives you the most joy and gives you the most peace. And that's really what your guide is. If you are feeling less than happy, joyful, loving, if it doesn't enhance you in some way, or if it's becoming too painful, if something is becoming like not good for you, you're experiencing some kind of emotion that is not in your highest good, then that is also a cue for you to really kind of go inward and see what this is telling you. I think that's, I answered that question pretty thoroughly. So I will move on to one more question, and then I will, actually, I think that's it. I think I'll do one question, one video per question. So this way they're short and sweet, and you may not want to, watch a 40-minute video. Okay, so hopefully that'll answer your question, and I will be back to answer some more. Okay, guys, have a good one. Bye. Love you.